Heating and Air Conditioning Weather Center. Sunny and 66 today. Beautiful tomorrow. Beautiful Wednesday. Gorgeous Thursday in the morning, but afternoon rain showers. And then on the weekend, well, prepare for it now. Highs around 50. It's 49. Your next news update is at 9. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Secure Retirement Radio with host Raj Shah. Sunday mornings at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, fresh off her successful town hall, Eat the Babies. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has engaged in the impeachment discussion, tweeting out, understand that Trump is engaged in deliberate, atrocious, targeted anti-Semitism toward Chairman Schiff. Then ask yourself why no one cares to denounce it. All right, let me ask myself, why does no one denounce the anti-Semitism targeting Adam Schiff? Because it's non-existent? Is that why? Opposition to Adam Schiff, who has admitted lying about his contact with the whistleblower, a point conceded even by the left, the likes of Sam Stein, a Daily Beast editor. Now, they're excusing him because we have to focus on Trump, but they're at least acknowledging, some are at least acknowledging that he lied when he said on September 17th on MSNBC that he had not been in contact in any material way with the whistleblower. That was a lie. Anti-Semitism. This is also rich coming from AOC, given that her comrades in arms include the likes of Ilhan Omar. But again, I understand that hypocrisy is a signal that the left doesn't play by the rules of the game they impose on others. I get that. They're above us, the vanguard class. Totally understand my Leninism. But it's not setting so well, even with those who have a bit of a center-left perspective, or at least did once upon a time. One such individual is a woman named Bridget Phetasy. She's a contributor to Spectator USA, The Federalist, former advisor for Playboy magazine. And she has written a column at spectator.us, which I'll tweet out at Dan Proft. An open letter to the Democratic Party talking about her journey in political philosophy and where it brings her to present. We're pleased to be joined by Bridget. Bridget, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
So, you were raised a liberal Democrat, and you were a loyal soldier until recently. Explain your political journey.
I think it probably started really in about 2015. I was writing for Playboy, and I hadn't really been online. I came from the left, but was really just waitressing, trying to be a writer, in the grind of just trying to pay my bills every month and not paying too much attention. I figured the geniuses in charge would take care of things. And then I kept stepping in, just every time I would say something like real men, terms that I thought were acceptable because I'm a 90s child, I would get piled on by the left for kind of speaking out of turn or saying things that apparently made it so that I learned terms like I had internalized the patriarchy. And I had never heard these things before. And I came out and wrote these articles that were a little bit racier in defense of things, and the women on the left would say I thought it was just modern feminism, and I was explain that no, that's not feminism. That's you're just upholding the patriarchal, oppressive society. And so that was news to me.
And you mentioned in your article that you grew up as a diehard, bleeding heart liberal because of pretty much through osmosis, because your family, they were all Democrats, correct?
Yeah, I call it factory settings is the term that I use. Mm-hmm. So it was really just what I was born into. My grandmother, they're in Rhode Island. they sang, my dad was one of 10. He sang, they were kind of like the Irish Von Trapp family singers. They sang for the Kennedys. She worshiped Kennedy, up there with Jesus. And it was just, we were kind of taught that the Republican Party was the dark side, as everybody always says, reminds me now that they're constantly saying I'm going to the dark side. So it's still very indoctrinated in my family that the Republican Party is evil and the Democrats are the party of the people and the good side.
Well, that's it. That phrase, that's a key phrase because that's one of the factory settings, right? Party of the people. And on closer examination, you find maybe not so much.
Somebody asked me yesterday what has been the biggest difference, and as I am in the middle, because now I just get battered by all sides. But the most observable difference for me, I didn't really even come center. The party just moved so far left. I can't necessarily get on board with. Socialism didn't work. So every time I hear that word, and when we say, it seems like there's a certain amount on the very far left that just wants to tear it all down. And there might be problems with our political system, but it's still the best there ever has been and has created unprecedented wealth. And I believe in free markets. And those are things that I think a lot of moderate leftists really, or moderate center left, they can't get behind that. And what's been interesting is that despite having many differences on social policy, the right will sit down and have a conversation with me and we can talk. Whereas on the left, I'm not invited on media shows. Nobody will talk to me. I'm just basically, anyone I feel right of Bernie is essentially considered a Republican or a conservative, which is insane.
How has your family responded?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. I feel my family, because my dad came from a very big family. Mm-hmm. My grandmother was amazing, and she raised us all to put family before politics or anything else. So despite our differences, we still love each other, and that doesn't mean there might be some drunken swipes at barbecues.
Sure.
And my dad has definitely made it clear that he's not super stoked that I've appeared on Glenn Beck multiple times. But overall, I think we try to really put love before politics. There's bigger things, I think, that are more important.
Well, that distinguishes you from the Clintons, to be sure. No, I think that's sensible, but it's so interesting too, because the family dynamic is, as you write, it's sort of hearkening back to a Democrat Party that doesn't exist anymore. But you remember, your family does, the personalities that you liked, and that's what drove your affiliation. And you're loath to give that up, particularly if you aren't attracted to what the Republicans are offering in terms of personality, and that would be Trump at the moment. But I thought your piece was very thoughtful in the sense that you sort of move beyond personality, cult of personality politics, which is difficult for most people to do, as one person is the embodiment of everybody who votes for that person. Of course, that's not true on either side. But but you sort of zero in on the contradictions that the Marxists offer, which is preaching one thing and demanding another. And one of the best riffs in your piece for me was preaching liberation and demanding obedience, and those are in conflict.
Mm-hmm. That's the problematic point of view. It's just from where I sit, and because I'm in this place, I wrote another piece about the battle cry of the politically homeless. So it's self-selection. I seem to attract a lot of these people. And we end up having conversations, and they email me, and I hear from them. And I can only speak for myself and the small selection of people who are moderates in swing states often. And it seems that where we're standing, Trump is something that is maybe his personality is horrible. Some of the things he's doing are corrosive, but it's limited. Whereas what's happening on the left is more insidious and authoritarian, and it is corrosive to the fundamental principles that our country was founded on. And also just a lot of the stuff around gender really just is so, it so turns people off because, okay, go be whatever you want to be. Many center-left people feel this way. But don't try and tell me that I can't now say boys and girls are different. That's observably insane. And so those are the things that I think people, when it really comes down to it and you have to go to the voters, you have to go vote for one or the other, people will tend to take the devil they know and something that they feel is not forever, as opposed, I mean, on the left, they might say that he's going to stay forever, but theoretically, there will be an end to this administration. And on the left, it's now pushing towards socialism and this authoritarian attacks on free speech and the mob mentality that's a little more terrifying to me, to be honest.
Well, especially too when you're talking about, as you're suggesting, who controls K through 12 education, who's dominant on college campuses, who's dominant in corporate boardrooms, who's dominant in the arts and entertainment. So one
HR.
guy, one guy who's the president for 4 years or 8 years versus an entire infrastructure built around the what I would describe as the cultural Marxist ideology.
We were laughing about this when I was on Michael Malice's show, how when you're so in the left, because I just lived in liberal enclaves and I've never really paid attention. And then I started doing these media hits and I would go on places like Glenn Beck and say things like, there's a culture war going on. Did you know that they have standards on the left that they don't hold themselves to? And Glenn would say, yeah,
we've heard that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, can you imagine if a Republican lawmaker during, a hearing, especially on impeachment, made up parody dialogue about a hypothetical situation as Adam Schiff did? I mean, it would be, people's hair would be on fire.
It's just, it's something that it just points to exactly what you're saying, which is that when the media and the academia has such a firm hold on the culture, you don't even realize that you're in this bubble. Right. And when your factory settings are the default that is the acceptable, as I call it, the approved message, then I never realized that there was this just enormous culture war occurring right under my nose.
A fish doesn't know he's in water, and we're happy to have you out of that polluted water. Bridget Phetasy, she's a contributor to Spectator USA, The Federalist, former advisor for Playboy magazine. Her column, which I tweeted out at Dan Proft, check it out, an open letter to the Democratic Party. Bridget, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Have a nice day.
Yeah,
you too.
You too. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day.